The Matchmaker is one of the core mechanic systems of World of Warships. It's a system that allocates players into teams. Learning about the principles of matchmaking will help you determine which ships your opponents and allies might have in battle and understand the factors upon which the waiting time in the queue depends.
Each ship in our game has an important parameter, the battle tiers in which it can participate. Usually, it's the ship's tier +2. Detailed information about each ship can be found in the World of Warships wiki.
Let's see how two teams get assembled for a random battle. First, let's select Tier 8 German cruiser Admiral Hipper and click Battle. The Matchmaker starts its work.
Imagine each battle tier as being a big virtual basket. The queue for random battles has 8 baskets for multi-tier battles from tier 3 to 10, and 10 baskets for single-tier battles. Admiral Hipper is placed in 4 baskets simultaneously, tiers 8 to 10, and additionally a basket in which only same-tier ships are put together. In our case, tier 8 ships.
The battle tier is defined by the ships with the highest tier in the battle. For example, in a tier 9 battle, tier 9 is the highest tier, and, as you've probably guessed, you can encounter tier 7 and 8 ships in those battles as well.
One of the primary tasks of the Matchmaker is to assemble teams that are as symmetrical as possible, so that no team has any advantages because of their roster. That's why the teams are assembled according to a set of quite strict rules.
The Matchmaker initially tries to find the exact mirror match for the German ship, another Tier 8 cruiser. While looking for it, the system doesn't consider a ship's modules, mounted upgrades, consumables or commander skills. Only her type and tier matter.
There are some exceptions that we'll discuss later, but this rule is scrupulously followed for the ships that define the battle tier. This is why the Matchmaker will never match Admiral Hipper with a Tier 7 cruiser or battleship in the Tier 8 basket.
After our German ship, Tier 7 battleship Colorado appears in the queue. It gets placed in 3 baskets for multi-tier battles, Tier 7, 8 and 9. The Matchmaker starts looking for a match for it too, among the ships that are already in these baskets. If it can't find any, it searches among any newcomers. Gradually, the baskets get filled up with ship pairs according to their battle tier.
There are restrictions on the number of ships of one tier within each multi-tier basket. Firstly, no more than 5 pairs of ships of the same tier as the battle tier. This means that, apart from our Admiral Hipper and its opponent, the Tier 8 basket can have no more than 4 pairs of 8s.
Secondly, Tier 7 to 10 battles must have at least 3 ship pairs that are 2 tiers lower than the battle tier. That's why the same Tier 8 basket will have at least 3 pairs of 6s. This requirement allows the ships at the bottom of the roster to feel more comfortable in a battle and gives them a chance to have a greater impact on its outcome.
Finally, there are restrictions on ship types. No more than 5 battleships, 4 destroyers and 1 aircraft carrier. Those ship types whose slots in baskets are occupied will wait until the assembled team enters battle, and only after that will they take their places in the empty baskets.
Let's get back to our Admiral Hipper. The Tier 8 basket lacks 1 pair to send the ships to battle. The Tier 9 basket lacks 3 pairs, and the Tier 10 basket doesn't have any 10s, and without them the battle won't start, even if the queue for Tier 10 consisted of 12 pairs.
Our old acquaintance, Fuzo, appears in the queue, followed by another 6, New Mexico. The Matchmaker makes a pair of the 2 battleships. As we can see, the Tier 8 basket is the first to assemble 2 full teams with 12 ships in each.
The Matchmaker now performs the final balancing. At the moment, We have 4 Soviet destroyers in one team and 4 Japanese destroyers in another. The matchmaker will distribute them evenly. If 3 out of 4 destroyers of the same nation were in a division, only the ship without a division would be moved.
You probably know that the battle tier of a division is determined by the highest tier of a ship in a division. At the same time, the matchmaker will first try to find a similar division for the opposing team or the same individual ships.
For example, if you and your friend enter a battle playing cruiser Hipper and destroyer Kagero, it's possible that the opposing team will have a division comprising cruiser Megami and destroyer Benson. At the same time, a team can have only one division more than the other team.
The difference in ship tiers within a division can't be more than one, so no matter how hard you want it, you won't be able to invite Fuso to a division with Admiral Hipper.
The teams are now assembled. All the ships in these teams are removed from all the other baskets. And the last thing that the matchmaker does is select a random map that's suitable for a Tier 8 battle.
Usually, the matchmaker needs very little time to assemble teams for random battles. Often, you see the battle loading screen several seconds after you click the battle button. However, it can happen sometimes that the tier baskets available to you don't have enough ships. In such cases, the time required to assemble teams can be longer.
After the first player in the queue has been waiting for more than 3 minutes, the matchmaker applies a new, softer settings template. First, each team is now allowed to have up to 7 ships of the same tier as the battle tier. Second, the ship type restrictions become a little softer. For example, 6 battleships are allowed per team.
Finally, the matchmaker lowers the requirements for mirroring ship types in the teams, except for those ships that define the battle tier. For our Hipper, just as for any other Tier 8 ship in the Tier 8 basket, the mirroring requirement when looking for its pair remains the same. However, in the same basket, a Tier 7 destroyer can be matched with a Tier 6 or Tier 7 cruiser, for example.
That's why a situation is possible where teams can have an uneven number of ships of one type. A team can have 1 destroyer, 1 battleship, and 2 cruisers more than the other team. There are no exceptions for aircraft carriers though, regardless of their waiting time. The only thing that the settings allow is 2 aircraft carriers per team after a long wait.
Apart from that, in update 0.8.7, we introduced an important feature, calibration of battles for each ship tier. It means that if you fight 20 battles playing a Tier 8 ship, for example, you'll encounter Tier 10 ships no more than 8 times. This is because a rule is now in place that restricts Tier 8 ships from being placed in battles with 10s in more than 40% of cases.
Each time you enter the queue, the matchmaker analyzes your last 20 battles at the ship tier you selected, regardless of its type. Please note that the system keeps separate records for co-op and random battles.
Now, let's review 2 rare cases of matchmaking that cause a lot of questions from players. The first happens when the matchmaker assembles 2 mirrored teams with 5 ships each in the Tier 10 basket. There are no more suitable ships in the Tier 8, 9 or 10 baskets, and the first player has already been waiting in the queue for more than 3 minutes. In this case, the matchmaker can send 2 incomplete teams into battle.
In co-op battles, the matchmaker works in the same way. For the AI-controlled team, it picks ships of the same type and tier that players took into battle.
In ranked battles, baskets in a battle queue are distinguished depending on the league. For example, the matchmaker will only place players from one league in a team with the same league players. The waiting time of the first player in the queue is not limited, and there will be no relaxing of the matchmaker's settings apart from an increased number of same-type ships.
We hope that we've managed to effectively explain how the matchmaker works. But if you still have questions about team rosters, let us know in the comments. Until next time,